Can we pull already?
What's up? I'm Jim Fro, and this is the Ready Check Pull Guide for Halondrus the Reclaimer. Big shout out to our Patreon supporters who help make these videos possible. For this fight, we're gonna have to make some best guesses using our Raider brains because the boss was completely changed after testing, and the footage isn't gonna correctly reflect the new mechanics, but hey, we're gonna give it a shot. One thing is for sure, this is a single target fight with some massive healing needed, but you also need to do a bunch of damage to get through some shields. Bloodlust will most definitely be used at the end of the fight, and high mobility classes, particularly ones with immunities or strong DRs, will be super helpful. Now, the entire fight revolves around these orbs. The orbs spawn from seismic tremors around the outer edge of the room. Running into an orb will destroy it and do moderate damage to the player. If any orb touches the boss, it's basically a wipe. On Heroic, it gets worse because the orbs will have a shield on them that stops them from being destroyed if they come into contact with a player. While the shield is on the orb, any player running through them will instead cause moderate damage to the entire raid. At 100 energy, the boss will put a decent sized shield on itself that players will need to DPS through. While the shield is active, the boss pulses ticking damage every second and sucks players and orbs into it. The damage and the suck get worse and worse the longer the shield is active, so blowing through these shields as fast as possible is going to make things a lot easier on everyone. Now, the tanks are the ones responsible for removing the shields on the orbs. The way they do that is the tank will be targeted with Light Shatter Beam, which is a long beam that does massive damage to anyone hit by it and puts a debuff on the target that increases the damage of the next Light Shatter Beam for 6 seconds. This beam breaks the shields on the orbs, allowing anyone to run through and destroy them. The beam also seems to be cast back to back, so taunt swaps will have to be fast. And the other thing you have to be fast at is dropping and dodging the missiles that the boss shoots at the raid. These are giant circles on each player that do a bunch of damage to anyone in the circle, as well as leave some crumbly swirlies behind that explode after 3 seconds. To deal with this, you simply spread out for the circles and then find a safe spot away from the crumblies. And all of this gets a bit more difficult because Halondrus will put a dispellable debuff on several players that does ramping damage and a ramping slow over 16 seconds. And on Heroic, when it expires or is dispelled, it leaves a shattered prism on the ground that damages and slows players as well as slows the orbs that are trying to get to the boss. So it seems like the best way to utilize this is to have the debuff players run in front of one of the clouds that are producing the orbs, get dispelled, and then move away. That way the orbs can be slowed, making them easier for the tanks to line up and clear. When the boss gets to 80% and 50%, it'll stop doing its normal mechanics and instead start to move to a new location. You can still damage the boss while it's moving, and the boss will do a bunch of damage to the entire raid as it moves from one room to another, so healers will need to be ready to heal on the go. You'll also want to make sure to use some movement speed abilities to get in front of the boss, because there's these spheres along the pathway that shatter, doing a bunch of damage to anyone in 15 yards. Anyone else not in 15 yards will take moderate damage and be knocked back. Getting knocked away from the boss could result in you getting shut out of the room, which would be super not fun. When you get to the next room, the boss will sit back down again and start doing its normal mechanics. Then at 50%, you'll do another transition phase until you finally get to the third and final room. This is where Bloodlust will be needed because Halondrus is now in overdrive, which means it'll be doing more and more damage to the entire raid as well as increasing the movement speed of the orbs over time. This means that you are now on a timer. So hopefully you were able to do a bunch of damage on your way to this room and you have all your damage cooldowns as well as Bloodlust ready to pump the hell out of the boss. You basically have to kill it before it kills you and pray you don't get a shield at 1% with 5 people alive. I could see this getting super spicy. And that's pretty much it. We'll most likely be recreating this guide after launch, but here's a quick recap of the fight for you to review or screenshot for later. Our Patreon supporters get these guides early, so if you're interested in that, check out the links below. Peace.